These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
It's a Scoop Session Tuesday here with our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Spent a lot of time with Doogie yesterday. We were at the Vikings press conference and then Twins Clubhouse. A lot of Doogie time. Doogs, before we get into some scoopage here, maybe a little reckless speculation, we just got word 5 minutes ago that we are holding a Score North Twin Show trade deadline watch party. Either way, even if they do nothing, we're all going to be hanging out. If they do nothing, we're just going to sit there and complain and gnash our teeth. But if they do something huge, we're going to celebrate it. Either way, come hang out with us Tuesday, July 30th, 4 p.m. at Park Tavern, the official sports bar of the sports dad himself.
SLP, baby, right?
In fact, you could probably go there on any day in the next week and have a chance to run into the sports dad.
Hello.
At the bar.
Bellied up.
I'll be glad to talk to you, too. Don't be afraid of me. I'll be glad to talk to you.
Not at all. Park Tavern is rock solid.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great spot. So Tuesday, July 30th, 4 p.m., Park Tavern, 5 p.m. trade deadline, and then 6 p.m. Twins and Mets. It's a road game in New York. We have some fun giveaways. And also, if you're a Purple Daily listener or a Flagrant Howls listener and you just want to come and talk like Anthony Edwards Olympics or Vikings training camp, it's open to anyone, even if you're not necessarily invested in the Twins at the trade deadline. 4 o'clock, Tuesday, July 30th, Park Tavern. Come hang out with us and cheers a couple adult beverages.
And the best part, too, is like Sports Dad, you can actually watch a Twins game there. Because if you have Comcast like Sports Dad, you can't watch the Twins. Park Tavern has all of the games on, including that game. So, Eureka, perhaps we can turn up the sound and hear Corey Provis, who's really good, but right now it's like he has a cable access show.
Yeah.
Hey, Roku on Sunday. Did you enjoy Sunday's broadcast on Roku?
I went.
It was good.
It
was good.
But he's great. I'm not joking. I'm not being a smartass.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Corey is top notch.
Well, I've told you, too. I mean, just getting to know him a little bit more on a personal level after he coached my younger son in basketball last year. Yes, Corey Provis was a basketball coach.
Love it.
Really good guy, really good family.
Yeah. So, okay, Dukes, yesterday we had the Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, Kevin O'Connell sort of set the scene before training camp. Am I getting an echo there?
We're
hello,
good there.
There we go.
Nope,
Okay,
you're good now. You're good.
Echo. What were your main takeaways from the press conference yesterday? What stood out the most to you?
Well, I mean, I think what Kwesi and Kevin laid out about just the tragic passing of Kyrie Jackson, it was absolutely genuine. I will say, though, I wish they would have done that days prior. There were a number of days where they could have discussed the passing of Kyrie. Both will be at the funeral on Friday. The overall tone of the news conference was somber. It was hard to make that segue to whether it was Jordan Addison, Judd. You threw in a number of quarterback-related questions. There were a number of topics we just didn't have time to get to. And I get it. If you're the PR staff, it wasn't going to be a 45-minute news conference. So at some point, you had to cut it off. But there were a number of talking points that I just don't think we got to. Like, they didn't even announce fully all the guys that won't be participating in practice starting tomorrow, like Dwayne McBride, Najee Thompson, right? We did hear about Van Ginkel. We talked about that last week, that he was ready to go. TJ Hawkinson starting camp on the physically unable to perform list. We did get an update on Hawk that he is, quote, well ahead of schedule. I just think they should have done the Kyrie. Now, it's not like they're soliciting my opinion on how to handle those things, right? I'm sure they had a deep discussion. Hey, should we do the Kyrie Jackson stuff separately? No, okay, let's just do everything on this Monday, this, start of training camp week. But it just, it was hard to, really pinpoint. And Judd, you did a good job. I mean, as good a job as anybody could have done. But it was kind of an awkward type setting after the first 7 to 10 minutes were spent on Kyrie Jackson.
What was your gentlemen's thoughts on the Jordan Addison situation? Because, I thought that O'Connell and Kwesi especially emphasized more of a patience or showing love as opposed to the kick in the ass that he probably needs. Now, O'Connell did use terms as disappointment, and clearly he could be disciplined. But to start with you, what did you think of the approach there, knowing that this is the public-facing thing too? Like, behind the scenes, totally different. But you reported that there were a lot of people very upset, which I'm sure is correct.
Yes, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind about that. Also, though, you're right. The public face of this, I'm not surprised one bit. Now, hey, I gravitate toward what KOC said, his first sentence, disappointment, disappointed, right? That word, right? To me, it goes a little bit deeper. I don't think they were going to slam him publicly. They realize how uber talented he is, that he has a chance to be a very, very special player for a number of years. I don't think they were going to have that tone of, hey, this kid effed up. You know, we can't wait to discipline him. What a moron. Anything like that, right? Like they weren't going to suggest anything along those lines. So I am not surprised whatsoever. Hey, even behind the scenes, the Les Picos of the world, I think will wrap their arms around him when they see him later today into tomorrow, right? Give him a hug and assure him, hey, like we need to continue to educate you on what to do in certain situations. Like, because I appreciated Kevin Seifert's question where he said, hey, like, does Jordan have a problem, right? When he's behind the wheel of a car, is there a problem that things are going to inevitably go wrong after going 140 down, whatever it was, 55 or 94 last year? Now this situation in Southern California, like, is there a problem? And hey, they answered that properly. Like, they weren't going to acknowledge, even if they do think maybe there is a problem, they weren't going to say, hey, there is a problem. So just the overall public tone didn't surprise me whatsoever. But yes, I will stick by what I said after everything unfolded in the last handful of days, that there are some people very, very frustrated behind the scenes.
On the quarterback front here, so last week, KOC goes on KFXN radio and uses the word competition or competitive to describe J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold in training camp, that he wants it to be a competitive situation. And he was asked to sort of clarify that and put into context, is this a quarterback battle? He was asked by one Judd Zulgad, former lead Vikings beat writer, Star Tribune, by the way. And he basically said that Sam is going to take first-team reps, but that there's plenty of room within first-team reps for J.J. McCarthy to also take first-team reps. But it's not totally clear what the percentage split is going to be or if it's an actual competition. So after yesterday, are you more confused or do you have more clarity as to what's about to happen quarterback-wise at training camp starting Wednesday?
Well, maybe somewhere in the middle, Phil. I mean, certainly not more confused, but I don't know if I have a ton more clarity. Now, he also said on Nick Mullins, because Mullins has been in the system now for multiple years, he doesn't necessarily need a lot of reps, but I'll still be curious to see how the Mullins reps play out. I still sense all signs point to early September, week 1 at the New York Giants, Sam Darnold under center. I don't see a scenario where it's J.J. McCarthy week 1. The question is, if there is any opportunity after that bye, after that game in London, so mid-October, like if Sam is just okay, if they have a losing record, whatever the circumstances may be, like at that point, is that the logical time to make the change to J.J. McCarthy, or is it a true redshirt year? So to me, that still needs to play out. Let's see how J.J. looks throughout the month of August, the joint practice with the Cleveland Browns. So those days in suburban Cleveland, also the preseason games. Let me just see how J.J. looks. Now, I'll continue to tell you, the feedback has been great. You talk to people that have been in the East Metro, watching J.J. work out the last handful of weeks, people with the Vikings, heck, spending some time with Josh Metellus last week. I get it, Michigan guy, but even on background, just the way Josh was gushing about JJ, so many people are excited about JJ McCarthy. It truly is. It's when, not if, right? That transition happens. I'm just going to be curious to see if it's mid-October or if it's like, this time next year, we're talking about, okay, now it's JJ McCarthy's team. But no, I'm not more confused, Phil. It's going to be Sam Darnold. The Vikings have talked behind the scenes a lot, plus on the record, about, hey, Sam has never had this sort of opportunity. Now, hey, if Sam fails miserably, then we know we can declare him a bust, right? When you go top 5 in the draft, you've got this sort of infrastructure in place that you've never had before. If it doesn't click now, it's probably never going to click for Sam Darnold. But a lot of Vikings people are excited that, hey, Sam finally has the right play caller, the right coaches around him, the right offensive line, the right receiving targets, even though TJ Hawkinson unlikely early in the season, that everything is set up for Sam Darnold to have success.
That's why, though, that I asked the follow-up to both of the guys, O'Connell and Kwesi, up there, though, about the reality is you're going into right now year 3 of 4-year contracts. And so back to your point, Dukes, let's say that Darnold flops. He's not good. How do you resist the temptation? Like it's July right now, right? Everyone's breathing easy as far as football goes. They're coming off vacations. But when you're in that October, November, oh my God, it's unraveling, and we have McCarthy. What are we going to do? And for O'Connell and Kwesi, or one of them, just to step in and say, no, no, no. And both of them unequivocally basically said, we will put our jobs on the line to do what we think is right, which to me is a ballsy statement. So that's where I'm curious, because O'Connell made it very clear, and I think Kwesi backed him up. We have a plan here, and we will not jump that plan, essentially, if Sam is not good. That's what makes me so curious about the season.
Yeah, and hey, I admire that. I respect that. I will also tell you, like, Kevin is going to be here. Kevin is going to get a contract extension. I will wager whatever you want to wager on that. Kwesi, maybe, probably even. Like, if I had to bet right now, I would lean more toward, like, he's not gone after this 4-year contract, that he's still here, that Andrew Miller, others with the Vikings, the Wilfs, like Kwesi, and I think Kwesi has gotten better the longer he's been in this job. That's why I asked him the question, just how have you evolved as a GM, entering training camp 3 compared to training camp 1, because I do think he has improved. So, yeah, I like the answer. It was the right answer, but I'm just telling you, Judd, if I had to bet right now, for sure, Kevin is going to be here. And so even if JJ maybe doesn't live up to quite the expectations that many of us have for him when you are a top 10 pick, I'm telling you, like, they love Kevin so much in that building. And I get it, that I don't think Kevin's going anywhere. His job security is, to me, A+. Kwesi maybe still to be determined to some extent, but Kevin and Kwesi, heck, the synergy they have, the way they work together, collaboration, all that stuff. I don't know if they cut the cord on Kwesi while keeping Kevin.
And this dynamic has evolved to this point over the last 2 years, but I thought it was so evident at that press conference yesterday, where you're starting off with this big, heavy topic of the death of a 24-year-old draft pick, and then into Jordan Addison and just like the uncomfortable sort of franchise conversations, and then on the football side into a big quarterback. It was a very like heavy, sort of meaty press conference. And Kevin is 90% the spokesperson for the organization, even though Kwesi is his superior. And some of that's just like Kevin is just a lot more dynamic and I think better as a public speaker. And Kwesi's a little gun shy, going back 2 years ago to the USA Today article. But I guess my point is Kevin is very much the front man for the organization. Kwesi behind the scenes. Interesting dynamic to me.
Yes, although how many GMs are front and center where they trump the head coach being that face, right? Maybe Dallas, right? Because of the owner.
Yeah.
Right, but like outside of Dallas, do any come to mind?
No, you're right. They're usually
John Lynch is a big name in San Francisco, but to me it's still Kyle Shanahan. It's the head coach, being front and center Sundays after a game, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, sometimes Thursdays, Saturdays with the TV folks. Like, the head coach is doing so much media. The GM isn't doing all that much media. Hey, I've said for a while, it sure would be nice if Kwesi did more, right? But it's not like what Kwesi doesn't do here is atypical. That's pretty much across the league. It's not like the GM in Detroit and Green Bay and go across the league is doing, monthly media sessions.
Yeah.
And so I wish he did. I wish Kwesi did more. And yeah, the USA Today article, right? And, Kwesi being very, very careful with his words. I think he's actually gotten better. So it's a credit to Kwesi. Like, to me, he should do more. He's getting better the more he does these sort of, gatherings. And how about just some one-on-one interviews? It would just be nice for him to hop on Purple Daily, right? Or you name the outlet, just do some one-on-one conversations. But that really doesn't take place. But yeah, I don't know if many GMs outside of Jerry Jones in Dallas are kind of the face of of the coaching staff / front office.
Hey, Dukes, so to back up Phil's point, ordinarily, like with the tragedy of a death of a player, an executive takes a lead on that one, and then the coach goes lots of times. So, like, Kevin O'Connell's going to handle, and the Vikings, with Spielman were the same way if there were football things. But like when Adrian Peterson got in trouble, they didn't parade Zim up there. It was Spielman. So like that's the one thing that's a little bit odd is, but I mean, yeah. And to Kevin's credit, he is a dynamic public speaker. Like he is a quarterback. That guy owns rooms, which is great. I mean, if that dude had the talent, he would have been tremendous. So I do think Phil's right though, because it did seem odd that he took the lead on Kyrie.
That's fair. That goes back to me. Now, hey, I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision from the Vikings communication standpoint, but to me, they should have done the Kyrie stuff separately. Middle of last week, whenever. Before yesterday, because heck, there were things heading into day one of training camp tomorrow that we didn't get to. Like there's still some uncertainty about.
It's hard to ask about
receiver.
Yeah.
I mean the running back situation, right? I'm sure you guys will bring up how I brought up the Cam Akers, belief that he was coming back. Now he's a Houston Texan, right? Well, the Vikings knew Dwayne McBride wasn't going to be available early in camp. Heck, maybe they end up signing Mo Ibrahim, who apparently they've kicked the tires on, or a different running back. But like, there's still probably some stuff that's going to happen. Heck, asking the question about, with Kyrie now gone, do you bring in another cornerback? There's a number of notable free agent cornerbacks. There were some things that we just didn't even have time to get to. And so that was the unfortunate thing. That's why Kwesi could have been front and center last week without even Kevin. So maybe, as you're laying this out, okay, Kwesi does the Kyrie Jackson stuff last week with all of us local media. Then yesterday could have been Kevin and Kwesi previewing training camp.
Yeah. It was just one more thing on it. It was, they did a great job, I think, regardless of the timing of it, of just paying tribute to Kyrie and explaining the Vikings are going to do what they can financially to pick up a large chunk of the memorial service.
Which is
and
great.
Then they got done. And the four of us have been to hundreds, if not thousands, of press conferences over the past few decades of our careers. That is the longest, most uncomfortable pause I can ever remember. Like people, okay, can I ask about something else? It was like palpable in the room. Can I ask about the third wide receiver, or like, do we have to wait till Wednesday? So, I mean, there's no really easy way to handle it. And they did a good job.
I mean, it was Chip who made the segue, and he even said that. He goes, hey, no easy way to segue. But it's not like we're going to do 22 minutes on Kyrie, right? So, like, I credit Chip, but it was awkward. Heck, right after their opening statements, there was a first and second and third question following up on Kyrie. But even then, it's like, okay, they made their statements about Kyrie. Should we ask a follow-up, or should we make that segue now? Like it was different, put it that way.
Yeah. Hey, just on the football front, so today on Purple Daily, cheap plug, as part of our episode, we have our Mr. Mankato draft. It'll be the first time. We've usually done like selection committees and different things. We're going to do a Mr. Mankato draft today on Purple Daily, the three of us, where we draft our favorite under-the-radar performers at training camp. There's some really interesting. So the parameters for us, Dukes, are third-round pick or later and or non-established NFL players, so players that have never played 100 snaps in a season in their careers and have 3 years or less of NFL regular season experience. But, I mean, like, I was looking up, for instance, spoiler alert, Gabriel Murphy, the edge rusher from UCLA, was a priority undrafted free agent. He was 117 on the consensus big board. I mean, like a borderline third-round pick, and he goes undrafted. Andre Carter was being mocked 2 years ago, second round, third round. He winds up going undrafted out of Army. And there's other players too. They have a lot of really interesting, maybe outside looking in fringe roster players to keep an eye on starting tomorrow.
Yeah, speaking of Andre Carter, ran into him randomly at Dixon, Burnsville a few weeks ago. Wow. I think I was the only person, although what the heck happened to Burnsville Center? That's a different conversation. But like, I don't think anybody outside of me, even Drew said to me, Doogie, he's like, who? And he studies this stuff.
It's Andre Carter, Doogie.
Yeah, he's like, who's that? I'm like, that's Andre Carter, Vikings pass rusher, undrafted free agent out of Army a couple years ago. I mean, Jalen Naylor, how many snaps has he played? Does Jalen Naylor technically qualify?
94 he qualifies. 94 in a season 2 years ago, so he falls under the
He needs
threshold.
to stay healthy, right? But they have high hopes for Jalen Naylor. Like we talk about, should they bring in a Hunter Renfrow or some other wide receiver, which I don't think anything is imminent, but, let's see what, things look like mid to late August, right? I'm not ruling it out, but like Jalen Naylor could be this team's number 3 receiver. So he's one name that certainly comes to mind. I mean, I'd love to root for my guy, Spencer Rowland, the North Carolina right tackle, undrafted free agent signing, blocked for Drake May. I'd like to think that he has a chance. Super smart dude, transitioned from Harvard to North Carolina, but that's well under the radar, right? I'm not sure I'd put him top of the list.
Can't draft those
without
guys.
having the roster fully in front of me. Murphy is an interesting name, but to me, the answer is Jalen Naylor. Or at least my answer is Jalen Naylor.
Here's the problem. Lineman, God bless them, right?
I know.
Cannot. We tried this one time to get creative, and like Phil took a left tackle and I took a guard, and then we went to practice and we're like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah, it's hard for the 4th string right tackle to flash during practice.
Correct. No, I understand. Right. That's more just local bias on my front. But yeah, I mean, it's Jalen. It is. He needs to stay healthy, but he's healthy right now. He's ready to go. Right, so I would keep an eye on Jalen Naylor, the Michigan State wide receiver, late-round draft pick from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Hey, before we get into some other scoopage here, let's talk about Nicolay Law, the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily on that podcast. Nicolay Law knows that when you've been injured, they are here to help you. Peace of mind, get the compensation you deserve after an accident. They're very proud to serve the local Twin Cities communities that they live in. They're just normal everyday folks at Nicolay Law who happen to have law degrees to help you. If you're interested in finding out more, go to nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay. Also, Dex, it's 3M Open Week right now. Mm-hmm. In fact, Billy Horschel he was T2, I think, at the Open. He has committed now this week to the 3M Open. Some big names.
Yeah, he was 7 under at the Open, so he will also be at 3M Open. You got, of course, Tony Finau, who had the big epic win, which was displayed on the Netflix documentary of Full Swing a few years ago as well. Got Sahith Theegala as one of them as well. Great field again at the 3M Open. You can get your tickets right now by going to 3mopen.com/tickets. Justin Rose, you got Sam Burns, Judd's guy will also be there too. I know he's a big Sam Burns guy.
Sam Burns guy. Judd is. Yeah.
Get your tickets, 3mopen.com.
Boom. I'm heading out there in a little bit. One update.
Nice.
Justin Rose has withdrawn. No Justin Rose.
Did he? Okay.
Oh, Justin.
Stinks.
He's
But
pouting
after
after
he
his
was
second place finish.
great. Over in Scotland, he decided to
Coward.
not make the trip. But
Billy
it's still
Horschel
a pretty
made
good
the
field.
trip.
Horschel's nice, though, yeah. Good. I didn't even hear the Horschel note, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, let's go.
If I may transition, I've come up with an idea, impromptu, for this segment as Stella barks because she loves this one. It's called "It's Time to Aggregate Doogie." Aggregators Unite. It's aggregation time.
Eric
That's
Strack,
right.
you up your
That's
pen.
right.
Let's go.
I know. So here's so trade deadline, Major League Baseball, 5 p.m. 1 week from today. What do we know in what I think is going to be a huge seller's market, because there could be so many buyers?
Yeah, although how many sellers do we have, Judd? I mean, truly, the White Sox, A's, Rockies,
Cubs,
Marlins.
But I mean, they stand.
The Cubs.
They stand to control the market.
Some changes. Although the Cubs don't have many pending free agents, Phil, with still an eye on competing in 25. Now, Cody Bellinger is fascinating if you're a team like the Yankees or another team that could seek, a bat. But the Twins are all about pitching. Heck, I don't know if I foresaw this at 7-13. Late April, early May, I was all in on, hey, find a way to acquire Pete Alonso. But the offense is fine. We talked, Declan, you were in the clubhouse. Phil, you were in the clubhouse yesterday. I mean, I asked Carlos Correa the question. I said, is it all about pitching, right? Because he's making his pitch to the front office on, hey, you should go after this guy, that guy, this guy. I said to Carlos, hey, are all those names pitchers? And he said, yeah, I mean, this lineup is one of the best in baseball. The numbers, prove that. This offense is fully capable. I don't know if you need to tweak anything offensively. It's all about adding a pitcher or two. To me, more than anything, you need a starting pitcher. But, hey, they're on the lookout for bullpen help. I'll give you a note here. So Nick Anderson, former Twin Cities resident, up from the Brainerd area, Crosby. So he just signed a minor league deal. The Royals cut him loose, signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers. The Twins tried to sign him. The Twins tried to bring back Nick Anderson. So did the Yankees and Blue Jays. And hey, he would have started in the bullpen, but started his Twins, second run in St. Paul, right? He wasn't going to be put on the 26-man Twins roster, but the Twins are looking for guys like that. James Paxton was just DFA'd by the LA Dodgers. Declan, I don't know if you heard this, but there were a couple players in the clubhouse just wondering relatively aloud, because it's not like I was standing right next to them.
Yeah.
But these two players were like, hey, I could see us going after him.
It's a lefty.
And so just, something to think about. Like, there's too much money left in the contract. I don't think you're making a trade with LA unless they're eating a lot of the contract, if not all of the contract. But I think that Judd is kind of the type of guy that they're looking to go after. They're certainly not looking to go after a guy like Tyler Anderson, Angels starting pitcher, who still has term on his contract. Like, they don't want to take back somebody that has a lot of money, due to them in 2025. Zach Eflin of the Tampa Bay Rays, right? Like, he's gettable, but he's got, $18 million coming his way, which to me isn't unreasonable, but I don't think the Twins are bringing in an $18 million contract for 2025. That's why somebody like Yusei Kikuchi of the Toronto Blue Jays, who the Twins tried to sign in 2022, pending free agent, a guy like that makes sense. Now, hey, there's going to be 17s in on Kikuchi, but the Twins are making calls. To me, they want to bring in a starter, and if they can bring in a reliever. Now, hey, if they don't, they've got Brock Stewart back as soon as today or tomorrow. He'll be back before the Phillies series is over. Spoke with him in the clubhouse yesterday. There's still a hope that Justin Topa will be back. Now, hey, he needs probably a lengthy rehab assignment, and we haven't gotten a direct update. I've tried multiple angles. Declan, maybe you have an update on Topa. I don't have anything right in this moment, but there is a belief that his season isn't over. He had a good run last year with the Mariners. Hey, Louis Varland, Chris Paddock, to me, his stuff could play out of the bullpen. So they could look at it and say, we have some reinforcements in-house, but they absolutely need at least one starter. And if they can't get that starter, if the price is just too high, they get outbid by others on Kikuchi, some other pending free agents, they then would pivot to the reliever route. But I still fully expect them to do something. And hey, maybe it's Monday, not Tuesday. So maybe you guys at Park Tavern early next week, right, are celebrating, analyzing the move that already took place. Maybe it doesn't happen right in that moment, although, as we've seen, especially with this front office, it's oftentimes that last 48 to 24 hours. Like, I fully expect things to pick up like Sunday morning into Sunday night, into Monday, into Tuesday, like those last, 50-something hours. Like, if the Twins do something, I imagine it'll be in those final handful of hours.
Yeah, talking with a couple other Twins players yesterday, too, outside of Carlos, which we were in, who just volunteered on the record. I already have some names down, and I want to talk to Rocco, and I want to talk to everyone else about who we could target. Talking to some other Twins players, I mean, one told me that we need literal help at the deadline. And we didn't do it last year either. And this is another year where we have to do it. And when the lineup is at full strength, 1 through 9, there might not be the Judge or Soto who's going to be an MVP winner. But 1 through 9, when Correa and Lewis and Jose Miranda, and then you add in this Brooks Lee guy who's obviously looks like a big leaguer too, 1 through 9, I think this lineup can hang. Can they get one more top of the line rotation where it lengthens out that rotation? You get your own bullpen supplements. I'd be very curious to see. And outside of Walker Jenkins, and I'll include Brooks Lee, I think most prospects are on the table here. Like, I don't think there's an untouchable, I should say. I don't think there's an untouchable prospect that's not named Walker Jenkins in their system.
So you think Rodriguez is on the table? I'd be
Yes.
surprised if they moved Rodriguez.
So, and I did ask,
especially for a pending free agent. That's why I don't think they're bringing in somebody with term. Like, if you're moving Rodriguez, you certainly want to control. Now, maybe it's a young arm that's arbitration eligible, because I'm talking a guy like an Anderson or an Eflin that's got big money guaranteed, right? So arbitration, that's a different animal. But Rodriguez would surprise me, even with the outfield depth they have, including Jenkins, right? And you still have Wallner and Larnick and those guys. So even if you don't bring back Kepler next year, you still have outfield options. Plus, signing a corner outfielder, an Adam Duvall type, is usually not that difficult but it would have to be a pretty darn good pitcher if you're moving Rodriguez. I'm with you, though. There's no way they're moving Walker Jenkins.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Rodriguez still rehabbing that hand. His season is not done, by the way. I asked Falvey about that. He's still rehabbing. He's in a good spot. But even Gabriel Gonzalez, who they got in the Polanco trade, like that that's a nice piece. But they didn't draft him. They didn't cultivate him. They acquired him. He could be a poker chip that uses the deadline as well.
That's why I wonder if it's more somebody like that.
Yeah.
Is he considered still a top 100? I haven't seen the latest top 100, and hey, I get their subjectivity to those lists. Yeah. But Declan, is he still a top 100 prospect?
At one point he was fringe. I know Zebby Matthews has climbed into the top 60, 50 after being unranked to start the year. He's now a AAA St. Paul. But he's a fringe guy. Gabriel Gonzalez, that is, as someone that you could probably dangle to maybe get something you want at the deadline.
Matthews, by the way, scheduled to make his CHS Field debut on Sunday. So if you want to see a top Twins pitching prospect in action in St. Paul, Sunday would be the day to be at CHS. I will be shocked if they don't do something. I mean, heck, best team in the American League since April 22nd. So now we're talking July 23rd today. So we're talking, a 3-month stretch. Half the season, they have been the best team in the league. In fact, the two best teams in baseball since April 22nd are playing at Target Field today and tomorrow. The Phillies and the Twins. And hey, Baltimore's like a game behind. So it's not like there's this big separation. But the Twins have been the best team in the league for 3 straight months. They realize there is this window. Cleveland continues to falter. I mean, what's Cleveland's record the last month or so? How many series have they won? How many series have they lost? Lost again last night. Now the deficit is 4. It's not insurmountable, right? Like, you can look at that and say, especially with 8 games left against Cleveland, like, we absolutely can catch Cleveland. Like, it's not like Cleveland is, the 27 Yankees, something like that, where we're like, hey, we're going to be the 4, 5, or the 6 seed. We can't be the 1, 2, or the 3, have home field advantage in that first round. The Twins look at it and say, we absolutely can win the American League Central.
Yeah. Dukes, we got to run here. Just final minute. Any other scoops left in your bag that you want to throw out before we reconvene on Thursday?
I will save some stuff for Thursday, but let me just go back to the Acre situation. So it was ESPN.com that had it on its transactions page. Cam Akers agrees to deal with Vikings. This was either July 1st or the morning of July 2nd. I believe I joined you guys that Tuesday, July 2nd, and July 4th was a Thursday, so we didn't do the show on the holiday. But I brought it up. I said, hey, let me read this text from somebody close to the situation. In fact, directly involved in the situation. Okay. Full disclosure, was the Akers side, was not the Viking side, who said, yeah, that is correct. Now, maybe this individual is being a bit presumptuous. It's somebody I've known for a number of years. But, hey, is it capable of a situation being where, he led me down the wrong path, just being maybe a little bit too presumptuous? I mean, there was a reason why Cam Akers stayed in town. It's not like he has any ties to the Twin Cities, but he stayed in town to rehab his Achilles April, May, June. I mean, he was here as recently as just a few weeks ago, but ultimately signs with the Houston Texans. So I still want to dig a little bit more on why that deal with the Vikings never came to fruition. But certainly it didn't even get to the point of like him undergoing a physical, and that didn't work out. Like, it didn't get that far, right? So there was this belief from the Akers camp it was going to happen. I passed that along, but clearly it did not happen. But I'm telling you, like, they've kicked the tires on the former Gopher Mo Ibrahim. So with McBride down, I would imagine they bring in some running back in the near future.
Not a great couple of years for McBride. Now the non-football injury list. It's always
and I'll be curious. I mean, maybe he'll volunteer. I mean, I reached out to somebody close to him who sent me back a question mark via text. So that person isn't willing to disclose what's going on. But yeah, definitely curious to hear what the heck happened.
Nobody knows. Huh? Question mark. Mm-hmm. So there he is, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. A little scoop session. We'll do it again on Thursday, Dukes.
Okay. See you, boys. I'm off to Blaine.
All right.
Thanks, Dukes.
There he is, Mr. Universe when it comes to covering the Minnesota sports landscape. And yeah, don't forget, Purple Daily today, the Mr. Mankato draft, 4 rounds and some notes from, it's kind of like preliminary Judd's camp notes from the press conference yesterday, and then the first training camp practice tomorrow, plus Declan from the clubhouse. I joined him yesterday on Extra Innings from Target Field, the Score North Twin Show, Apple, Spotify, and a separate YouTube channel Flagrant Howls, Judd's Hockey Show, Royce Unchained. We have you covered here. Score North. See you guys.